your girl Mandy here, and welcome back to my channel. Okay, so today I'm going to be making a DIY Venom mask. I watched like several videos of how to make a Venom mask, and I was a little intimidated at first. It looked kind of complicated, but I just know for a fact that I'm going to get this shit right. So, I ordered all my materials already off Amazon. I have the liquid latex. This is from Maron Makeup. My Polymorphe Beads. I had flour at home because we're gonna need that. I do need a mannequin head to kind of like shape everything out, like shape the mask out. I only have her. This is what I used to put my wig on. She's a little busted and bruised up. Hopefully she could get the job done. Her face is smaller than mine though, so I don't know, but we're gonna see. And we also need hot water, and I have some boiling on the stove right now, which I'm about to go take off. And then a bowl. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So let's get started. I started off by putting the beads into the boiling hot water, and after I let it sit for a little bit, they turned into this clear, gooey texture that I started to break apart into small pieces to start forming my fangs. I used my fingers to shape the fangs out, and I pressed them against the table so they don't look too thick. Now I'm sorry my camera wasn't focusing as well as I wanted to, but hopefully you guys could still get the visual of what I'm trying to do. When creating the teeth for Venom, you don't want them to be all the same size. Like, I created some that were a little bigger than others, and some were like very, very tiny. I did go back and recreate some because some I felt like were a little bit too thick, and I didn't want Venom's teeth to be that thick. You also don't need them to be that perfect, honestly. He's an alien, like, he don't need perfect teeth. When shaping the teeth, you want to make sure to give the bottom a good little point, but you don't want it to be too pointy. Now the thing with these beads is that once they dry up, they do become really hard, and in order to get them soft again, you have to put them back in hot water. I made about like 22 to 23 teeth, and honestly I didn't even need that much because I did not use all of them. But this is what I have. It's not perfect, but it's definitely gonna get the job done. So then I pulled up a picture on Google to kind of like guide me to how to make the eye. And I took the rest of the Polymorphe beads that I had and I put it on a bowl and I started shaping the eye. I kept going back to the picture as reference to try and get it as much to the shape as possible. So now we're going to start creating the actual face of Venom, and to do this you're going to need some liquid latex and some flour. What you want to do is pour your liquid latex in a bowl, and you're actually going to need a lot of liquid latex for this, and you're going to gradually add in your flour as you go. Now Venom got a pretty big face and I needed a lot more liquid latex, so in the end I did have to go back to the store and buy more liquid latex because this definitely wasn't enough. So I got my little mannequin head Susie with me, and I'm starting off by putting some of the mixture on her eye. I'm doing this to start off as a base before I put on the actual eye that I made, and it's also going to help with it being a little bit more comfortable when I put the mask on my face. Now when you do this, you kind of want to apply a little bit more of the mix than I did. I didn't put as much of the mix at the bottom of her eye as I should have, because the next day when it did dry out, the eyes low-key started to like come off, and I had to like make a whole new mixture and try and get it to stick together. Once you finish adding the mixture at the bottom of the eye, you want to use the same mixture and kind of add it to the top to hold everything in place. So I went back to Party City and I purchased some more liquid latex and I started making a new mixture. But when I made this mixture, I kind of made a mistake and put a lot of flour. I was supposed to add in the flour gradually, but the flour kind of slipped out of my hand, so I tried to keep adding more liquid latex as I went along, but it helped the slightest bit, but it wasn't as good as I wanted it to be. Although this wasn't the consistency that I wanted, I used it anyways because it actually wasn't that bad and it got the job done. Once everything was nice and mixed together, I went back in and started putting the mixture on the mask to form Venom's face. And of course, I was using the picture for reference to make sure that I was doing the right thing and getting the shape of his face correct. Once I reached the bottom of his face, I left a little gap that was supposed to be his mouth, and I put the mixture all the way at the bottom, that way I would have room for his teeth. To get the mask to be a little bit more smooth, I used the liquid latex to smooth it out with my fingers, and I went back in and took some of the mixture and added more where I thought was necessary. As you can see, it's starting to look a little bit like Venom, and I was starting to get a little excited, but I did want it to be a little bit more smooth, so I went back in and started smoothing everything out with my fingers. Now, the mask was smooth, but it wasn't as smooth as I wanted it to be, so I did go back in and make another mixture. And this time, guys, this time I did it properly, and I slowly started adding in the flour. The consistency of this mixture was a lot better than all the ones that I've made, and I was able to smooth it out perfectly. And when I added the liquid latex on the top, everything was nice and smooth and just how I wanted it to be. And at this point, your girl was getting a little excited because once he started looking at it, it was like, okay, you looking like Venom, you looking like Venom. And I was ready for the next step, which is adding on the teeth. Y'all, look at her. Period. I did let the mask sit for 10 to 15 minutes. So before I started adding on the teeth, I did go ahead and take some of that mixture and add it towards the back of the mouth. That way later on I could be able to paint it and make it look a little bit more bloody and realistic. Adding the teeth was definitely the hard part, and you kind of want to take your time with this, but you definitely want to start adding in the teeth when the mixture is still a little bit more on the wet side. You don't want it to be too dry because once it's dried out, then it is going to be harder to stick the teeth in. When I was adding in the teeth, I did put a lot of the bigger teeth in the front and I added some of the smaller ones in the back. I kind of did like 2 rows because his teeth are not perfect, like I said before, and you kind of want it to look like a little all over the place. I'm starting to realize that I probably should have made my teeth a little bit thicker, but it's okay. It's like too late to go back. I also started to stretch out his mouth just a little bit to be able to add some more teeth towards the back because I realized that in the picture his mouth was a little bit bigger than what I had. Then I went ahead and I took a paper towel and I started cleaning out the eye and removing all the liquid latex. Now you don't want to install this right away and you want to let it dry out completely. Now I let this sit overnight and I installed it the very next day. After applying all the teeth and cleaning out the eye, this is what it's looking like, and now it's time to install it. So I went ahead and did one side of my face off camera, and this is what the mask looks like when it's dried completely. It does turn into a yellow color, and that is completely normal. To start off, I'm taking a red and black paint that I got from Snazarroo, and it is water activated. So I went in and I started adding the red paint towards the back of the mouth, and then I went in and added the black paint on top to give it that bloody texture. So I went ahead and put on any old wig and I got my bald cap ready, and before I started anything, I wanted to make sure that I glued my eyebrows down for protection. I started off by cutting the bald cap in half and adjusting it to my face. To get this cap to stick on my head, I did go ahead and put a bobby pin at the top of my head, and I used another clip to hold it in the back. To get the bald cap to stick, I went in with some spirit gum that I got from Party City, and let me tell you guys, this spirit gum was absolutely terrible because it did not stick to my face like at all. If you do have better spirit gum, what you want to do is apply the spirit gum towards the top of your forehead so that way the bald cap could stick, and you want to also apply it towards the bottom of your face. That way when you put on the mask, it could also stick as well. Then I went in and I took some white paint and I kind of just started outlining where I was going to have the mask be. And once everything was nice and outlined, I tried to put on some more spirit gum and I started prepping my face to put on the actual mask. I also used some of that same spirit gum to apply it towards the back of the mask, hoping that it would give it a better stick, and you guys, like, it wasn't sticking. The mask kind of came off my face and I tried to reapply some more spirit gum, and I'm not gonna lie, at this point I was starting to get just a little bit discouraged. I even went in and took a clip. As you can see at the top of my head, I have a clip, just like hoping that it would hold it in place, and even then, like, I felt it coming off my face. I decided to just let the mask dry for a little bit and move on to the next step, so I started applying liquid latex and cotton towards the back of the mask as well as towards my neck and chest area, just to give it a smooth transition. But even after I finished this step, like, the mask still wasn't sticking. It's just not sticking, and I'm pretty sure it's because of this cheap ass spirit gum that I got from Party City. Like, it's just not sticking on the way that I'd like it to. And I don't know whether I should continue or just order some good spirit glue and try again a different day. I'm gonna try again right now. So what I decided to do was take some liquid latex and apply it everywhere that I wanted the mask to stick. So that was on top of the bald cap as well as on the back of the mask and a little bit on my face. This method actually worked a lot better and the mask actually did stay in place, so I was able to move on to the next step. I continued adding some liquid latex and cotton on my body to give it like that Venom texture, and then I went ahead and started forming, like, you know, the Venom lines that kind of make it seem like he's taking over half my face. So I went in with some liquid latex and some small cotton pieces and I kind of just shaped it out and applied more liquid latex every time I applied the cotton pieces. Now it's time to move on to the paint. Now for this part, you do want to use a cream paint. So I went in with my CCBEAUTY cream paint palette and I took the black shade and I kind of just started painting all over the mask. Once everything was painted, I took the brown shade as well as the yellow shade in the palette. I mixed those two together and I started applying it towards the teeth. This will help the teeth look a little grimy and dirty. Once I finished adding the brown and yellow shade, I also went in with some white cream paint and added that as well. After I finished painting the teeth, I went in with my red paint and started painting out the gums. I also took my black paintbrush and kind of just mixed it together a little bit. That way you won't see any harsh lines and you kind of want everything to look a little bit blended. Once I was finished with the gums, I went in with my white cream paint and started painting over the white eye. I also went back in and used my black paint to fill in any gaps that were on the mask, and I also painted over the cotton lines that I applied. Now I'm taking my paintbrush and I'm kind of just painting out the Venom lines where he's covering my face up, because I felt like with the cotton it wasn't enough, so I kind of just started painting it myself. Now I'm going in with some more liquid latex and some cotton, and I'm applying that just to give my body just a little bit more texture. Once I finished applying all my cotton, I went in and made my gelatin mixture. For this mixture, I used 3 tablespoons of gelatin, 3 tablespoons of water, and 1.5 tablespoons of glycerin. To give it that Venom look, I went in with some black paint and I mixed it all together. You can also use black food coloring if you have some, but I didn't have black food coloring, so I just used some water activated paint. Y'all, this mixture smells absolutely terrible, like terrible. Once I had it nice and mixed up, I went ahead and took my paintbrush or a spoon and I started applying it on the mask. Now I did notice that the texture was still a little bit too hard, so I went ahead and microwaved it for a little bit, and the texture afterwards was a lot better. To make the mask look a little bit more realistic, I took some blood gel that I got from Miran Makeup and I just started applying that all over the gums. And that is pretty much it for this Venom look. This is what it's giving, and I'm actually really proud. I'm actually really happy that I didn't give up. But that's pretty much it for today's video. I really hope you guys enjoyed this. If you're not already subscribed and you made it towards the end of this video, go ahead and click that subscribe button. But thank you guys for tuning in, and I can't wait to see you guys next time. Bye!